Well, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to you. All right. I guess I'm trying to figure out why my computer looks a little different. I can't blame my kids because they haven't been on it. So, good morning to you all. Happy Wednesday to you. Happy Wednesday. Put good morning into the chat. Beth, good morning to you, Beth. Jacqueline, good morning to you and your iPhone. What's up, Sydney? Sydney. She's out Westall. What's up, Robin? I had the pleasure of Robin, my early morning talk about 5:15 this morning on my way to the gym. And Robin she's just up early. She's just up early. And I've missed having conversations with her. So we snuck in. Latrice, what a beautiful picture, Latrice. What a beautiful picture over there. Deanne, good morning to you. Paul, good morning to you, brother. Paul, Chad and Jada and I are going to be golfing at the end of the month. We're excited to do that little venture. We're meeting up, so I'm excited to do some golfing with them. Yes. So, and then tomorrow, for those of you that are around, we're doing, Christian and I are doing a YouTube blueprint YouTube video. Jay, if you could put that in the chat, do a little shameless plug right here on our YouTube video. I've learned a lot though, I've learned how to transcript. I learned how to use artificial intelligence. I learned how to take those and put it into notes. I learned how to use those notes and send into text messages for follow-up for real estate agents, for buyers and sellers. There's a lot of different things all you can do. So if you're interested, it's just gonna be an hour tomorrow, 11 to 12. I got power players tomorrow from 10 to 11. Then I got that from 11 to 12. Never ends, never ends. So good morning, everybody. Good morning to you all. I see Chad here? I see Chad here. So maybe I might do this to him and I. Did Todd call you, Chad?
I have not received a call from Todd. No.
Okay, okay.
Yes, if I was supposed to, and maybe I just missed it. Right?
Well, I sent him, so I looked at my account. So guys, this is literally behind the scenes. This is behind the scenes of what takes place. How many of you put a 7 in the chat? Put a 7 in the chat if you have a schedule for your day and then things go sideways on you. Put a 7 in the chat if anybody's had this happen. I know it sounds crazy, but you have a plan for the day and then something happens and it goes a little sideways. So Chad doesn't know it, but I just happened to see him here. And since glad you're back, Chad, Rebecca, Jada, and I spoke yesterday. We talked about purpose, we talked about money, talked about confidence. We pretended that we were Chad speaking on your behalf. So we kept the concept the same. But I might do this with you today. So Todd is speaking today, and I don't see Todd on here. And I texted Todd and I asked Todd to make sure everything was good. And Todd didn't text me back. So I was just like, I better be prepared in case something goes. That's the Boy Scout motto, Eagle Scout, be prepared, be prepared. So I was prepared, but then I saw Chad and I said, you know what, maybe Chad and I might just have a little conversation since he wasn't with us yesterday. And everybody likes hearing Chad's voice. I know I do. And so I have a couple things that I was going to bring up, Chad, but maybe you and I can just have a little conversation, just as Derek and I sometimes do. And I always like to hear your insight on certain things. And if you're open to it, Chad, I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Hey, let's roll with it, man. Let's roll with it.
Jay, do you have since we did my affirmation on Monday, let's do Chad's affirmation since we missed it. Let's do his affirmation with purpose. Do you have that for us, Jay, so we can put that on there? Because I just want to talk about purpose because I literally part of the conversation I was going to have today was about purpose. And so, Chad, start us off here with your affirmation, brother.
All right. All together, I am created on purpose for a purpose, and
And
you
you
are
are
created on purpose for a purpose.
Chad, when you read that, we all read it. Like, what does that mean? Like, does it mean the same to you every day? Or some days are a little bit different for you where you're like, you know what, my purpose is going to be this way this week? Or is when you read that, does it mean the same to you every single time, or does it change each day?
I think it's you've got context and you've got contents. And from a context standpoint, that is the very foundation in which I operate and I attack the day with purpose overall, that I'm created on purpose for a purpose. Now, does purpose change each day from a micro view? Yes, absolutely. Because I think everything you do should and does have purpose. And so it's the two meanings, you know what I mean? The get me out of bed, the get going, the nonstop. That's the foundation of purpose that I know that I must always be trying to, for me, please God and serve people, and not the other way around. Mhm. So, and then how I do that, there's purpose in that.
So one of the things I actually was talking about was day 27 in the purpose-driven life here. And so I'll kind of just air out the conversation all, and for those that want to share anything, you're more than welcome to. But let me just ask you this, Chad. So the topic I had today was defeating temptation. Okay. And it was dealing with temptation. And temptation, all I think sometimes is just like, I don't know about you all. Would you agree that temptation usually is for you to do something against your purpose or do something against your goals, or it's something sometimes it's usually resonated around negativity? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would.
So when I read defeating temptation, I was listening. I was like, all right, defeating negativity. This is something that I look at. This is something that comes into my life. This is something that happens, whether it's addiction, whether it's money, whether it's women, whether it's, somebody picks up, like somebody calls me out of the blue and it's not on my schedule, whatever it might be, water cooler talk, whatever that temptation might be. And there was a message in here, is from Corinthians, verse 10, chapter 10, verse 13. It says, when you are tempted, God will show you a way out so that you will not give in to it. And when I read that, Chad, you know what I thought of? I don't give myself enough. I don't have God. I don't give enough patience. Like I immediately, when I'm in a position, I'm immediately doing something. And right now, Christian and I are talking about I need to slow down to speed up. So when you hear that, when you are tempted, he will show you a way out so that way you don't give in. Do you think sometimes in life we lack patience, that we just I just want it now. Maybe I'm not doing it the right way, so we give up on something instead of continuing to go through the pain or grow through it. Are there time periods in your life that you feel that you could help somebody today? Like, you know what, there was a time period that I just didn't let God in enough, or I didn't give him enough time because I wanted to do it Chad's way. Any moments or thoughts like that come to you when you hear that?
100%. And this is very, very, very timely, I would say, this
Isn't
message
it
and
crazy how that
conversation.
happens?
Yeah, yeah. So first of all, I'd like to share this. That verse I think is often misconstrued with God will never put something on you that you can't handle.
Mhm.
And so that verse is not in the Bible. But with God, you can handle anything. With him, you can handle anything. Now, if you take a look at my wrist here, everybody has seen the WWJD bracelet. Now, this I literally am wearing for that conversation right there. It's not drip. You know what I mean? It's not drip for everybody to see, which if it ends up being that way, great. I'm more than happy to talk about that. Um, but because of that, if I'm tempted, I look at this and it makes me pause. I create space to think about that. And that's what I wear this for. And, I've wore it on and off in the past, but yesterday I strapped it back on. And so it's for that reason, because we just continue to go because we're so focused on let's get it done, let's get it done, let's do this, let's do that. Good, bad, or ugly, right? Like you said, we want it right now. We're that microwave society, but sometimes we need to stop, pause, think, and sit in the silence
Mm.
to seek direction. So, yeah, that's good stuff. That's the way I take it.
It's funny. We were talking about yesterday, actually, Chad, about, I think Latrice might have been saying something about it, or maybe it was Rebecca. But we talked about, our plate, and God doesn't put, more on our plate than we can handle. And I was talking about, like, many of us, include like myself, would say, like, I wish my plate was the size of a flying saucer, like a little coffee plate. Like, I don't want too much, like, it's way too much. But God's plate that he has for us is a lot bigger than what we envision, because he knows we can handle more. We're just scared to go into that. And once we understand and surrender to him, he will take us to wherever we need to go. It's up to us. We kind of talked about the seed and the planting and everything else. But one of the things that I really resonate when I was reading this book, or reading this chapter the other day, he talks about the temptation where we resist it. We talk about resisting these temptations, and we focus on the temptation. God, don't have me eat this food, or our prayers or our questions. And one of the lines he says, whatever you resist still exists. Because we're focusing on the resistance, we're focusing on the problem, we're focusing on the issue, we're focusing on maybe the lack of the call, lack of our energy, lack of what we're not doing. And we've talked about lack several times on this show. But when I heard what you resist still exists, I was just like, I mean, obviously everybody knows I'm addicted to drinking, and that was my disease that I have. But we all have some sort of situation that takes place. But I always would focus on don't drink, don't drink, don't drink, don't drink. But Robin and I, remember this, Robin, we've talked about this, and you might have seen this show. We've talked about, like, what moves my boat? What moves me to the direction that I need to go? And back in I forgot what year it was, but the Olympics over in England, I believe it was, the coach said, any decision you make, does it move the boat faster? Does it get us to our goal? And so when I read this, what you still resist, whatever you resist still exists. Many times after I read this, I said, you know what? I need to change my thought process, Chad. Instead of thinking about what's holding me back, what the temptation is, it talks about actually thinking about what the result's going to be. If I do this phone call, if I land this deal, my kids and I get to go on the cruise that they've been asking for. I know you, Chad, and I know your son on the growth pattern that he's at for where he can play football. He might be in California, like you talked about that one day, and you want to go to his games. And it's going to cost you some money to get hotels and flights and to travel around to go see his games. But I know you're not going to miss his games. So when you think about some of the things that you're dealing with, or some of the challenges that you got, thinking about you missing your son's game might be a motivation to be like, I got to do what I need to do. I can't let these temptations get in my way, because I want to go see Jackson. I want to bring Dana. I want to bring my kids with me. I don't know, but does that resonate with you, Chad? And those thoughts of just resist, if you continue to focus on what's resisting instead of what the goal is, or instead of the result, or what your true meaning is, do you think that that's something that people on here today should pivot and redirect when they're thinking about, instead of the problem, more the solution?
Yes, 100%. And I brought this up before, but Myron Golden says, where your attention goes, your intention follows. And the very first temptation was to focus on lack. And there was an abundance in the garden. And the serpent said, surely he didn't say you must not eat of any tree. So he knew, he was smart. He had to get their focus off of all the abundance, all the apple trees, peach trees, plum trees, all of that stuff that was right there that they could freely eat from, and walk past all of that abundance to get to that one tree that they were not supposed to eat from. And so that's a lesson in itself. Um, so you need to, I think when you focus on instant gratification, sometimes there's always an opportunity cost or a cost to that.
I mean, 100%. I mean, it is, I just, I find that, I've heard where energy goes, energy flows, what you put your attention on. Obviously Myron Golden, he's a pretty wise man. He knows his stuff. So in the book here, it talks about, getting interested in another idea. The battle of sin is won or lost in your mind. Whatever gets your attention will get you. And I found that between that type of quote that it is, but if you focus on just, I mean, Tim's story. I was reading your post on earlier today, Chad, but Tony Robbins talks about that. Whatever you focus on, I hear many times, whatever you focus on expands. Whatever you're putting in. If you're talking about, the problem, and that's all you're discussing or anything else, a lack of money, whatever that might be, you're going to find yourself in a situation that's where you always feel you're in. You are where I think you said you are where your feet are, or what was that message you said with Myron Gold?
Yeah. Yeah. Be where your feet are. That's, you're present, but your mind can be way out here and you're not present at all.
So the second thing that he talked about in this temptation is the number 2 is reveal your struggle to a godly friend or support group. Where do you see you using that, Chad, in your situation, your season you are in today? Obviously, you've been different seasons of your life. Where do you see that today? Where are you applying that today that would help somebody on here be like, you know what, I need to do that too? Where are you putting your energy? Obviously, you and I have Rebecca that we work with coaching wise, but who are some resources that you're using for your support group to help you get to where you want to grow?
Um, there's different people, but I can kind of unpack. When you're not aware and you're just going with the flow, right? And you're wondering and wandering, you don't think like this. And thankfully, as bad as it, I'll just say, my mom hates this word, as bad as it sucked to go through the the divine disruption that I went through, it was a necessity. My heart had to break for my eyes to be opened. So I'm very careful what I put in my brain, in my mind, and what I allow myself to talk about. Because here's we're still human. We are still human. And so we could have this inner battle, right? Inside, and we know what's right, but we're tempted just to, oh. So I can go to friends in my circle that I feel like will make me feel better. And say, yeah, I don't blame you for feeling that way, man. I would do this, I'd do that, blah, 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 blah. And we'd all get in the gutter and we'll just roll around in that gully. Yeah, high-fiving each other. And we can, go that route. Or I cannot allow myself to go there and have somebody that can help me look at this thing in a different aspect. Look at, okay, what is the lesson that's being taught here? What can we learn from this? Bring me back to all things work together for the good. How am I being seasoned? Again, Tim's story on that post, he says sometimes you have to sit in the silence. And you don't know what's going on. Then you're seasoned. That could be, a struggle. But you have to do those things before you soar. Because if you don't do that, your soar will not sustain. And so I'm very careful who I talk to when I really need to be vulnerable and transparent, because there's a lot more people that'll get in the gully with me and give me high five and say, yeah, man, go punch them in the throat. Right. Or, you know what I'm saying? I don't blame you, but that's not what I need. That's not the right thing. That's not where I am. That's not where I'm trying to go. So that circle is super important.
I honestly, Chad, I kind of laughed because I'm like, did you even were you listening to our two shows this week? Because literally we were just talking about that we tend to go where we're welcomed and comforted. We don't want to go talk to somebody who's going to tell us something that we don't want to hear. We don't go in where somebody's like, that's not a really, no, what are you thinking? Because we don't want to hear that. We want to go talk to our buddies and our Goombas and our areas and in to have a comment hey, listen to what this person did to me. They did me wrong. They got into me. They told me this and they did this and they screwed me over. And we want to hear people say, yeah, you're right, man. You know what? I'd quit that job. I'd go tell him, I'd go send him a nasty text. I'd send him a nasty text. I'd go on his Facebook page and I'd talk all about him and tag him. That's what I would do, tag them. We come up with these crazy ideas. Instead of imagine if somebody said this to you and be like, you know what, Latrice, I think you need to take some ownership on that. Chad, you're not going to want to hear this, but I think you probably could have taken a different path. I think you could have probably just walked away from that environment. I think if you actually removed yourself and this is hard all. And sometimes I get in trouble because I'm considered antisocial. Why'd you leave the room, Brock? I can't stand people who talk about other people. It drives me crazy. So I remove myself. And then I have loved ones and family members and different people, significant others, who will say to me, why'd you leave like that? Were you on the phone with somebody? I'm like, no, I can't be around that. There's only so much news I can watch. There's only so much different things that I can put I don't want to be around that synergy. But you said it best, Chad. You're aware of your environment. You're aware of the people that you need to have these conversations with. And one of the things I would tell you all is start being aware of the people you're having conversations with. Start being aware and being vulnerable to environments. Because when you start changing that, there's certain people I could go talk to my mom, and my mom's gonna what me? Comfort me. Brock, I think that yes, you're just doing too much. You need to take it easy. You need to relax a little bit more. You're doing way too much. I told you. I'm like, No, I'm like, I don't even know why I brought up this conversation because I know what she's going to, she loves me, but she wants to see me in a comfort zone. If I go to Rebecca and I tell her some of my things, she's like, yeah, no. My dad's the same way. He's hard on me, but I guess that's, what my dad's upbringing was different. So, Chad, is the last one here was about vulnerability. And thank you, Chad, for just letting me ask you all these questions on here because you have no idea what I'm going to ask. And you're probably like, I was not expecting this to come on today. Isn't it cool all that people in our leadership like are just willing and open just to talk about anything, about everything? I mean, give some Chad some love here, all because he had no idea that this was about to happen this morning, like zero clue. And being vulnerable because the last one is realize your vulnerability. It says realize your God warns us never to get cocky and overconfident. That is a recipe for disaster. It says the Bible says don't be so naive and self-confident. You're not exempt. You could fall flat on your face and easily as anyone else. We talked about ego this week, all easing God out. So, Chad, in the last couple minutes here, how did you become vulnerable? Was it like being in the dark closet that was just like, I gotta change my ways? Was it something that happened with you and Dana? Like, where did you become vulnerable in ownership? Because you're an amazing father, a great husband. I've seen a lot of your stuff and what you do, and you pour into people, you help people grow financially, just spiritually, mentally. Like, where did that vulnerability come from in you to be like, you know what, I got my own mess here too. I have my own challenges because it's hard to be vulnerable. What did that look like for you? How did that transpire?
Y- yeah. So there was power in that closet. Like I said, my heart had to break for my eyes to be open to realize that I was faking it till I made it my entire life, trying to fit in when I'm called to stand out. And when I realized that I was created on purpose for purpose, when I realized that God wanted to bless who he created me to be and not who I was trying to be,
Mm,
and that I don't have to pretend to be perfect, proper, and prim. I am who I am. I mess up every single day, but I am who I am and I want to be the best person that I can be. I don't try to be anybody else. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be authentic. And I've seen God's blessing and his hand and his grace and mercy firsthand because of that decision. Me stepping into who he wants me to be. I saw a video this morning. I can't hold the hand of man and hold the hand of God at the same time. And I wanted to be like my dad. I wanted to be like this, like that, like this, like that. God just wanted me to call on him. And when I did that, that's when my life completely changed. And I am who I am. And I'm
mm,
a child of God and I'm imperfect, but through him, I can do anything that he calls me to do.
I love it. Christian asked, and I wasn't too sure, how long ago was that? When did that take place for you?
Um, John Hart will tell you. John, was it 2021? I think.
That sounds right, Chad. I couldn't put. I know it was in the fall, September something.
Yeah. And let me just add to that right quick. I get emotional every time I talk about it because it's real. But when you have real people who really care, like John Hart, I reached out to John Hart. I had to share my vulnerability and transparency, being transparent with somebody. And John Hart reached right back out to me. And he is the one that opened doors for me, because I said yes to God. He provided people to open the right doors to be in the rooms that I was supposed to be in. And I am forever grateful for John Hart.
Love it, man.
The same goes here. I mean, I gained a great friend out of the deal too.
I love John.
I do too.
He's just, John's one of those guys all on here. If you don't reach out to that man, he's on here every single morning. He's been on here for a while. He's a pillar to this show. And he's brought amazing guests on. Our Figured Out Friday guests, our best guests have come through John Hart. So it's just been amazing, like you said, Chad. And I appreciate your vulnerability. That's, all this is what it's all about, is being able to grow through and recognize it. When you have to go back to the pain, it's very hard because it triggers so many emotions that come out of you. And, I just, once again, Chad, I want to say thank you because, when we say, like, sometimes in life, we don't know, God wanted this message to come out today. Somebody needed to hear this message today. One of you on here, for those that watch the recording, you needed to hear Chad's message today and listen to him and how he's grown, because I've been blessed and fortunate. That's how I met Chad, was on the stage that John Hart helped Chad bring to with Michael Burt. And that's how I listened to Chad, and I heard his message and I was like, I need to be around this guy. He's in my circle. He's the person I can have conversations with. So thank you, Chad. Anything you want to close out with, or John?
What's funny about that was Chad was telling me about you looking for him. Before you all ever talk, he said, "There's this guy looking for me, want me to be on his show."
Yeah,
Look, sometimes you have to go, a lot of times you have to get to that point to realize that you really should be who God created you to be. Because I can say boldly with confidence, yet humility, that generations will be changed that are connected with me, not by me, but through me allowing God to work in my life. Generations will be changed because I made a decision to take my next step to be who He created me to be. And that's powerful.
And recognizing that power and then seeing it and acting on it. So hats off to you, Chad. I truly appreciate you, brother. You are a great friend, and thank you so much for sharing this morning, and for all of us that spent a little extra time with us. I know we're 5 minutes over, but we appreciate you all. Thank you for being on here today for our spontaneous conversation that we had today, Chad. Thank you, brother, for sharing this morning, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you, man. Thank you, everybody.
All right, all. Have a great day. Enjoy this beautiful Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 8:15 Eastern time, with our main man, Derek Green, over in the Philippines. He is still over there, all, but he will be with us tomorrow morning. God bless you all. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a fabulous day. See ya.
See ya.